I'd like to call the February 1st Parks Board meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. We'll start with pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have roll call.
Greg Marquardt.
Present.
Sarah Miller.
Present.
Paul Rodriguez.
Present.
Dale Holsey.
Do we have to put the volume up? I look like we're trying to talk.
I don't know how to work the volume on this. How to work the volume.
Well, yeah, he's there, and I think he was trying to talk.
Texting in. I think it's just right next to his name. You can hit the button.
I did hit that.
Speaker switch on.
Brand new TVs today, guys. Right?
Technical difficulties.
Where's the speaker switch?
President seat. Turn speaker switch on at the president.
Oh, yeah, the microphone.
Oh,
All right, can we hear you now, Dale?
I don't know, can you?
Yep, we sure can. Now we can.
okay, start over.
Yeah.
Dale Holsey.
Present.
Mary Jo Dixon.
Here.
Julie Rivera. Absent. Jeff Bungie.
Here.
Jennifer Sandberg. Absent. David Austin.
Present.
Mindy Buchler.
Present.
Greg Wiseman.
Present.
And I am present.
All right, first item on the agenda is a presentation by Braden Denklau.
Hello, my name is Braden Denklau. I'm a part of Boy Scout Troop 129. Some little background information about me. I'm 15 years old and I'm going to Hanover Central High School. Ever since I've joined Boy Scouts, my biggest goal was to be an Eagle Scout, and one of the requirements to reach Eagle Scout is to create a project that benefits our community. Today I'm here to present and get the board's approval to move forward with my Eagle Scout project. For the past couple of months, I have worked with Ms. Buchler and came up with some ideas for what my project could be, and we've reached a decision. My project includes adding 2 amenities to the semi-new Kiwanis Dog Park. These include a take-a-stick, leave-a-stick board and a tennis ball holder. Starting off with the stick board, this is what it looks like. As you can see, there's many hooks on there, so many sticks are able to be held. And then onto the tennis ball holder, this is what it looks like. There is a little tray out front and a tall part where lots of tennis balls can be dispensed and held. Now that you've seen what they look like, let me talk about why adding these can be beneficial to the community. Introducing these amenities can introduce a way for members of the park to have a free way to interact with their dogs and give their dogs exercise. It also gives people a way to interact with each other through these amenities, and also along with this, it gives a more personal connection between the members, and it can also establish a personal connection with the community by adding a way not only to take and leave good sticks that they find, but also to donate their old tennis balls. Like I mentioned, the tennis ball holder provides a way for members to recycle their own old tennis balls for finding a way to get more use out of them. I plan to attach the tennis ball holder to the side of the stick board and install these to the park towards early March, as the weather should hopefully warm up. As for the color palette, I've chosen 3 different palettes that I feel would fit into the park. First, we have the blue and yellow, which would go with the playground next to it. And then we have the red and orange, which is also based off some of the playground's colors. And then lastly, we have the green and gray, which is a more dull color palette, but it fits the fence color more. My personal favorite is the blue and yellow, as those are colors that dogs can actually see, and due to their color blindness, but I wanted to get your opinions on which one you guys would like there. With all my information presented, I wanted to ask anyone had any questions for me.
Are you gonna perform all this yourself?
I will get help from volunteers from my Boy Scout troop to help me put the things together, but I am responsible for getting all the materials and everything ready, and they just help me put it together.
So you'll collect the funds and do all of that yourself? Good for you.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I like the drafting software that you used
Thank you.
to come up with the designs.
Yeah, that's all I have, so if none of you guys have any questions, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I'm very excited to move forward with my project, so thank you.
Thank you, Braden.
Thank you.
Hey Brayden, real quick before you step away.
Yes.
I've been working with you closely, working on your projects, and wow, you blow us away. You're a great kid. And I'm super impressed with you. I know that when we discussed this, we kind of talked about a project timeline for install.
Mhm.
Do you maybe want to share that with the board, when you were thinking it would be ready to be installed?
Yeah, so I was thinking about, throughout the month of February, I will, finish my project plan and get all the fundraising needed, and then hopefully in early to middle March, I start the actual, like, building of these two amenities, and then hopefully, like, as of late March, April, I will actually be able to install these into the park.
Sounds good.
And do you have any direction as far as color, or do we want to leave that up to him?
I think as long as it matches the park equipment,
Okay.
we'll use your judgment on
Okay.
that. No, I think it's a great project, and I'm sure you'll work with Mindy to work out all the logistics, and I think that's great that you're gonna do that for our park.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
I was thinking about the colors, sitting here looking at his presentation, and I believe that as far as our equipment goes, I think we have blue or green, so I would say one or the other. We're not gonna perfectly match.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, one color would be good.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it's a very creative idea. I like it. The tennis balls, that's fun, and collecting the sticks too. So thanks again for presenting it.
Thank you. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Brayden, thanks for your time. You don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, you can slip out if you'd like. And I'll email.
Mr. Vice President, I'd like to make a motion to add to the agenda approval of Braden's project.
I have a motion on the table for approval of Braden's project.
I will second that motion.
We have a second. Can I have a roll call?
Mr. Markwart?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
And Mr. Holsey?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Next item on the agenda is the introduction of our new recreation coordinator, Greg Wiesman. Do you want to introduce yourself, say a word?
Yeah, so my name is Greg Wiseman. I just want to thank you all for the opportunity. I'm eager to hit the ground running, to make an impact and to start things. Working here the last few weeks, I started my training and just soaking in a lot of information, but I'm excited to be here.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, we're happy to have you. All right, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Number 1, we have meeting minutes. Is there any questions on minutes from the last meeting?
No, thanks.
Okay, number 2, claims. Parks and Rec General Fund, $23,807.53. Park Impact Fee, $0. Parks and Rec Non-Reverting Fund, $119. Clubhouse Non-Reverting Fund, $5,580.68. Total expenditures, $29,507.21. Was there any questions on items? That all look pretty straightforward to
You
me.
knew it already.
Number 3 is donations. We received funds for the memorial benches for Jason and Keith from Core Construction, and we received a food donation from Culver's for the January senior social. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a first by Sarah
And I'll second that.
and a second by Greg. Can I have the roll call?
Mr. Markort,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
and Mr. Holsey.
Yes.
Okay, one item in old business, and it's the approval of the park board budget. Jennifer's not here, but Mindy, did you wanna kind of brief us on that a little bit? I think it's good news.
Sure, Jennifer got a hold of us a little bit after that last park board meeting and, said she was able to work things out with the financial planner. All the budget as proposed originally has been approved for us. There will be no changes to the 2024 budget. I apologize, that probably should have been thrown into your meeting materials, but if you do look at the docket, it will, give you a little bit idea of we're looking at the same exact mirrors of 2023's, with no changes to it, except for maybe making additional appropriations for line items that we're finding necessary to happen moving forward in 2024.
And what was the total amount? You don't have to go through the line items, but.
Oh, I don't even have that in front of me.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I wish I could, but I don't.
No, that's fine. But it's the same as last year.
What we proposed for this year is what we were able to be approved for this year.
Okay. Any discussion from the board?
I think she sent that out to us. We looked at that already.
Yeah, it was the same, yep.
No?
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept, approval of the park board budget?
I'll make a motion to approve the park board budget.
All right, we have a first by Greg,
I'll second.
and a second motion by Dale. Roll call, please.
Mr. Markort,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
and Mr. Holsey.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 4-0. Number one, under new business, is the Kiwanis Park Pour and Play. Mindy, do you wanna bring us up to speed on that?
Sure, absolutely. So we're working along, just a refresher, we're working along with Emberly Smiles right now on a nonverbal communication board. They're a non-for-profit. They presented to us months back. Kiwanis Park was the park that was identified for the communication board to go into, and went on site with the park foreman and park board president Dale Holsey. It was really actually hard for us to find a good place to put the board because we were concerned about accessibility, meaning that anybody who may have a cane, a walker, some type of visual impairment may not be able to get to those areas to see the communication boards. And so we thought at that point, maybe this is our first park that we look into getting a pour and play surface, which is a semi-solid surface instead of the rubber mulch, that if we're making this our communication board park as our first park, it would be the first one that we would think about bringing up to speed as far as an all abilities surfacing. And so we went ahead and sought quotes on that, and they were presented to the park board to make a consideration into bringing that park, as it is a new construction, up to speed. There are quotes in our packets that have been presented, although we did realize the preparation work quote, which was an individual quote, it would be something that we could do in-house, and the original rubber mulch that is existing there would be repurposed into one of our parks that's still sitting with wood playground chips, so we'd be able to update that. And so this is why we're bringing this along with a photo for you to review what it looks like, and for consideration to use a park impact fee, since this park is still under construction, to create a pour and play park in our park system.
And so would this be considered like ADA compliant, or?
Absolutely, it would be considered ADA compliant.
And I think that's one of the big initiatives that we wanted to tackle with some of the parks, is making at least some of them ADA compliant. And so then the quote for the site work is not necessary, is what you're saying?
Yes, we had a quote of $6,800 to do site work. Essentially, that was moving the mulch off-site. The stone work would be able to be done in-house, but the cost of stone would still be there.
Mhm.
But we've really just knocked that whole proposal of $6,800 out the door with the ability to do in-house. But the pour and play, as you can see, is a very, very expensive project. We're looking at 2,268 square feet of poured and play surfacing, at a estimate of $45,549.
And obviously, this isn't something that we would do at all parks, but we wanna at least do it at our more, used park. And what's the useful life of the pour and play?
Typically, you're seeing 15 to 20 years on a pour and play surface. They do have a 7-year warranty through the company on it. Every park in Northwest Indiana or school has pour and play surfaces. Probably the closest reach from Cedar Lake is actually Oak Hill Elementary School, has a nice ADA playground with pour and play surfaces done by the same manufacturers. It's not that far to go take a peek at that. But all the way from Hammond, Munster, Schererville, St. John, they're all using this surfacing in their parks. Not all, because we know it's costly, but at least creating one opportunity within our park system may be a good first step in ADA compliancy.
Mr. Vice President,
Yes.
have we determined that that's an acceptable use of park impact fees?
Mr. Austin, do you have any opinion on that?
I do.
Okay,
You can.
we can,
Yes.
Okay.
okay. And
I do have a question. So the current rubber mulch that's down there now, what are the plans for that?
That would be moved off-site to a park of our choice. We have several. Example is Montessori Woods, has 2 playgrounds right next to each other. One is a rubber mulch playground and the other one is a wood mulch, but they sit side by side. So probably trying to even that up, or possibly Lynn's Way is the same situation. So bringing one of those parks up to speed with dual systems and rubber mulch.
Good, so we won't take a loss at just...
No, that will be reused.
Perfect. I'm happy to hear that.
Okay, and Mindy, I don't know if you would know this, I did notice that it says adding aliphatic binder, if I'm saying that correctly, would increase the warranty to 10 years. And I'm assuming it would also increase the cost because it's just a recommendation. What do you know about that?
What I know about that is there's one park, which is Schererville Parks Department, who went with that binder. Everybody else had not. But they went into a repair opportunity with theirs and thought that that was the next best step to go through a repair replacement. And they're the only ones who had tried that. But other systems within the parks that I've had contact with have not had the need for that. And I think it's just time of year, you know, time of install. The kinks have been worked out since Schererville originally had theirs placed and replaced. So they went with a higher end to prevent any more future issues with it.
Okay, and so New Toys is really the only company that really does this in the area?
Yeah, there have been a few that have popped through the area over the years through my career in Parks and Rec. It's unfortunate, but they'll show up, they'll do a project, and they're not there to even uphold their warranty. So Schererville did have problems with theirs, I was aware of, and New Toys was right there, the rep was in the area, and worked with them to make the repairs and get things rolling. But I can name everyone in Lake County, Indiana has used this company and would recommend them as their pour and play, so,
Okay.
yeah.
And if there's tears, they do patches?
Yeah, that would come under, there's warranty work, but I don't have exact details of what would be covered on that, but for manufacturer defects and such, yeah.
Okay. And then lastly, do we know what the lead time would be for install if,
It has to be, certain weather, it has to be certain dryness conditions. We have to make sure that we get the gravel in place and compacted enough in order to start it. I would think that at earliest, when I've seen these go in, would probably be a late spring if it's a dry spring. But ideally, summer and fall months are good too for install. So I think it's just getting into the, system and saying when we're ready to go and scheduling for that.
And blue is our color choice, correct?
We haven't even chose the color yet.
I know, that's what I was
Yeah.
getting at.
Mhm.
But if you're wanting to, that, yeah, absolutely blue is a color choice, to repeat that.
Good.
I just have a comment or a question. Being that this is ADA compliant material, is there any chance on getting any kind of grant work or supplementary funding for a project like this?
I'm unaware of any grants that are, currently active on this, but I do know most towns have ADA funds available to them if that's something that we want to try to consider offsetting the cost to the Parks Department, but not that I'm aware of at this time. And that was one of my concerns when we started talking about this project, because that is a good question, Jeff, is if we get this in the master plan, when we get a little further down, will there be more opportunities at funding to help offset those costs? So, that was
Yeah.
something for consideration from the board.
And obviously, if we wait for the master plan, then we're pushing this to 2025 anyway, no matter what.
Right, and maybe that's not your first project of the master plan,
Mhm. And we're not 100% sure if that would net us any funding for this.
Yeah, at this time, we're not, so. I can definitely look into some more opportunities. If the board approves, I could try to find some way to offset costs through funding, for grants or such, but I personally am unaware of any at this time.
Okay. So basically, you would need us to consider approval for the quote for the install and the product, and then there is still some site work that needs to be included, and whatever
Whatever the cost of the
whatever
gravel would
decision we
be.
make. Okay.
Mhm.
Minimal.
So with this $45,549, that's listed in the new toys pricing, does that exclude the gravel?
You're quoting that in the other quote, so the
Okay.
demo, in the demo quote, so yes, that is excluding that.
Okay.
So would an approval of not to exceed a cost of $50,000 be sufficient for this and the site work and gravel? Or do we need a little bit more wiggle room since some of the cost is, or we're not sure?
We all know in construction right
Yeah.
now, things are just so movable and inflation is crazy. A generous a bit amount, just because by the time we get to the project, I don't know what gravel's gonna be costing at that time of year, or maybe the surfacing has to go up, but, I think they're a little bit of call is a good idea, and I'll leave that to the board's discretion of how much they want to place as a not to exceed in the approval.
Okay, one other question, did they give you, the demo folks with the stone, did they give you any kind of price lock as far as if this was good for 60 days or 90 days or anything?
Not on the demo quote, but we decided that that's something that's gonna happen in-house anyway, so I guess we don't even need to look at that, and just price of gravel for it.
Would that impact the warranty if we demo and prep the site in-house?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Yeah, I believe that the demo could be done by us, we could omit that from the cost of the demo, and, that we can remove the mulch for them, and then allow them that opportunity to clean slate, so.
Mhm.
If that was to do that. In previous park systems I've been in, our crews have done the demo work, but they always left the gravel placement and compacting up to the professionals, so that's actually a really good point, Paul.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just one more quick, because so you will no longer need that barrier then, that holds that mulch in place right now?
Absolutely, it will just funnel off into the grass.
It will, so it's, okay. So that you could use somewhere else then?
Yeah, to extend another playground area.
Real
And then
nice.
we wouldn't have need for a ramp to access the playground.
Absolutely, it would come right off of your parking lot.
Perfect, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. Personally, I'd like to see, confirm about the warranty on how, if the installation's done, or the site work's done by us or by New Toys. And probably just confirmation that there are no funding sources available for this.
Is this something that you would like to table to the next meeting with more information to make a decision?
That would be my opinion, but I'll leave it up to the board.
Mr. Rodriguez, I'd like to make a motion to defer this item to the March meeting to allow time to investigate demolishing and prep work questions, funding questions, but just the same, I'm very eager to get moving on this. So like I said, my motion would be to defer to the next meeting to iron out those details.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we had a first by Dale and a second by Sarah. Can I have a roll call?
Mr. Markort?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
And Mr. Holstein?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 4-0. Second item under new business is the Kiwanis Park security cameras. Mindy, I'll let you take it away again.
Kiwanis Park, being one of our newer parks, has already been victim of vandalism on the playground. We've already had to repair drill holes that happened through the playground, slides and such. And most recently, our earliest or latest shenanigans has been firecrackers placed into the porta-john, cracking the porta-john, with us having to take care of the repair of the porta-john. It's been talked from the onset, as my understanding is, in the inception of this park, before there was even a dog park placed out there, that cameras were part of the major big haul plan 2 town managers ago, was the information that was I was privy to. And so we thought, with us having these issues, going back to the original plan of security cameras, that we would recircle back around and investigate the opportunity to place security cameras in this park.
Okay, and so we have a quote that Cliff provided. It's a recorder with hard drive for $380, and then each camera is $180 each camera.
Correct.
And I guess the cost that we're not aware of yet is if infrastructure needs to be put in to either affix the cameras to, or cable, wiring, conduit, that type of infrastructure cost.
Yeah, it was recommended in further conversation after the quote was received with Cliff that it would be the board's pleasure as to how many cameras. 3 would probably do it. 4, we would get every angle of what we needed there, with 3 of those cameras being the $180 cameras and 1 being the $290 camera. But there are additional costs that just couldn't be really put together at the time of estimate, was if there's an additional pole needed for placement of that camera, and other things as far as the conduit, cable, and the mounting poles. So those are going to be when you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you decide how many cameras that you need or would like.
And it would, I'm assuming they'd be Wi-Fi cameras.
Yes, there is a Wi-Fi link of $125 that has been added to this quote in front of you.
Nice,
So,
good.
Yeah, so I mean, it seems like the cost is pretty nominal for
Right.
what we're looking at. The variable would be the infrastructure, obviously.
Stick it posted or.
Yeah,
What
but
you have to do.
I mean, I would be in favor of moving forward with getting some cameras out there. It's
Mhm.
gonna be a high traffic park, especially with the dog park there.
Yeah, high traffic and with multiple incidents already, I think it makes
Yeah.
sense.
We already had a slide vandalized, they had to be replaced, right, at that point?
Repaired.
Yeah, repaired,
Repaired,
okay, yeah.
Yeah. Additionally, this would be one of those park impact fee qualifications, is my understanding, because it is the new park and it was on the original scope of the park when it was being planned. And we just haven't completed it.
So the suggestion was 3 is sufficient?
Suggestion was 3 is sufficient, 4 is probably best.
Okay.
3 of them being the lower end camera and 1 being the higher end with the strobe light that would activate when somebody was in that area.
Mindy or Cliff, since I know Cliff's on 2, so when I read this, I would be in favor of the, 4 cameras. But I'm seeing 180, 290, 480. Is there I'm assuming each of those is a different style of camera. Is there one that we're using that we can say, like, well, this is what the town uses already, or is there obviously there has to be a difference here.
It's really just features. So the highest end one would have line crossing. If somebody left a package, if somebody took something, you could actually just draw an area and say, was something placed in this area, was something removed? The higher one also does LPR. My gut just says it's probably more than we need out there. The lower end ones, or I don't want to say the cheaper ones, but the 180 ones are the ones we use normally around the town. The deterrent one is one we haven't implemented yet, but it's basically the same camera, but just a motion detection, strobe, and alarm activation option.
I feel like based off that description, I mean, we're not guarding Fort Knox. I feel like the $180, if that's the one that's been used, would be acceptable then.
Yeah, I agree. At 4 of them, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to do the math on,
200 plus 380.
Do you need us to approve a specific amount
No,
for this,
just
because
approve
it'll
the
be under?
project. Just,
1,280.
Yeah, we're just approving the project, so I guess if the infrastructure cost ended up being more than what you're normally able to, spend yourself, then would you bring that back to us?
yeah, I can most definitely do that, but
I
now
don't
I'm
think it would,
thinking,
yeah.
if you do want to, make a move forward, I think that you have to actually make a recommendation to the town council for use of park impact fees, or at least that's how it was done at a time before, so maybe we need to revisit that before we move forward with decision making.
Okay. Mr. Austin, do you have an opinion?
Yes, for final expenditure of funds, the town council would check on.
Okay,
So that would be a recommendation.
so we would need a final cost then to recommend to the town
I
council?
would say a not to exceed would work
Okay.
in that moment, to
Okay.
earmark some money. Mm-hmm.
okay, so I'm just doing some math here then, because I really have heartburn over people being able to destroy our stuff and no way to even try to figure out who's doing what. So 4 cameras, a recorder 380, a Wi-Fi link at 125, that's a total of 1225, and then I'm assuming we would want the weatherproof mounting cabinet, I would assume?
That's, Cliff was recommended by, Cliff and the quote.
It's gonna have to be a requirement, because you're gonna have our equipment out there that's gonna be housed in that box, much like the access control system.
Okay, so that would be $400 one time, not per camera or anything like that, correct?
Correct, one time.
Okay, so the total I come up with 1625, for conduit, cable, mounting poles, I don't even know where to begin, but I'm going to make a motion to make a favorable recommendation to town council to spend up to $2,500 using park impact fees for the camera project.
Okay, we have a motion from Dale.
I'll second.
And a second from Greg.
Let's do it.
Can I have a roll call?
Mr. Markort,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
and Mr. Holsby.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 4-0. Item number 3 under new business is the instructor agreement. Mindy, I'll let you take it away one more time.
Okay, the instructor agreement is something that we came across as we were starting a new department. We were really trying to find a way to have the ability to hire somebody with a skill set to come do programming with us at the Parks Department. These agreements and such were not in place, and we started from scratch. So, at the direction of Mr. Austin's office, we've hammered out an agreement that is to be able to hire in an instructor, background check them, have them come in as an independent contractor. It may be that person who has a skill set in your community who doesn't own a business, doesn't carry their own insurance, but you want to be able to bring that skill set to offer it as recreation or programming to your community. And so this is what we've come up with. It was just to get it before the board and talk about any processes that may need to be put in place in order to use the instructor agreement moving forward.
Yeah, you hit everything.
Okay.
This document, when approved or checked off, will be used for years here. Simple, to the point.
And so we think this is a better process than what has currently been happening.
Well,
in town.
it is. What we have right now is a little bulky.
Mhm.
And is onerous to some vendors who might be interested and can't
Mhm.
fiscally.
And so, do we need to approve the certain terms of this agreement, or do we need to approve the certain, like, specific terms of this agreement, or just
No.
the agreement in general to use this going forward?
Really, the reason we brought it here is so that you were aware of what's going on. It's a policy type call.
Mhm.
This is a form and format of vendor consultant agreements going forward, and we want to put it on the public record. Really, Mindy could have used this going forward with legal review. but
Got it.
We thought you should oversee it.
And one thing I'd like to note on this, just so the public is aware that, it's gonna require a background check on any vendors or contractors that we're using, and especially if they're working with children, for soccer and other events. So we just wanna make sure the public's aware that would be happening as part of this agreement.
I think this might be a good spot to transition into background checks and talk about that as far as the department. Although that's mentioned in my superintendent report, we do need to find we need to identify how often this department moving forward wants to background check our staff, our volunteers, our instructors. We have to do it, that's what we do, we want to make sure everybody is safe and accounted for, but really just in order for me to create a policy in office or a standard operating procedure, I'd really like an opportunity for you to let me know what the board's pleasure is in the how often. Is this an annual that we go ahead and do that? Is that every 2 years, moving forward? So maybe some discussion about that and how we proceed with the background checking of those people involved.
That's a good point. So let's handle the instructor agreement, and then we'll add an agenda item regarding duration of or frequency of the background checks.
Okay.
So can I get a motion on item number 3, the instructor agreement?
I have a motion to approve the adjusted instructor agreement.
Okay, I have a motion from Sarah,
I'll second that motion,
and
sir.
a second from Greg. Can I have a roll call?
Mr. Markort,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Holsby.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 4-0. So then at this time, I would add an agenda item to approve the frequency of background checks for contractors and vendors,
Volunteers and.
volunteers and staff. Do we have any discussion from the board?
Annual?
I don't know.
For the recommendation,
How often it
that's
should
what I'm
be.
looking for, how often?
I just don't know.
There was talk of annual or semi,
Right.
by, every 2 years.
I have no background and I wouldn't know that answer.
Mr. Rodriguez, I guess I'm gonna interject because this is something I was passionate about last year and I will remain passionate about this year. I think we're in an environment where, we should do our due diligence to protect our children, our staff, our volunteers. It is my opinion that this should be an annual, not a biannual, not an every 3 years. Even though you can't prevent every scenario, God forbid something unfortunate happens to a member of our community, whether it's an adult or a child, as the result of being exposed to someone that they shouldn't, we're already gonna look bad no matter what process we follow, so I feel that we should follow annual to protect the community that we're serving.
The prices of these are, I believe, very minimal, right?
There's a $25 fee associated, but we are doing the deepest dive background check that we can get, which is necessary when you're putting, instructors and staff in before the public, which was a new process that was, background checking that was adopted, by this board prior to my arrival, is my understanding.
No. I definitely have no opposition to doing it annually.
Does this cause an issue for just our general staff? Because I'm guessing the other departments aren't background checking their employees every year. Can we require just our staff to be background checked every year without the rest of the town employees?
Well, you can, because they have a different role and function than our instructors, our independent contractor relationship and the like. There's a big difference.
Well, I'm talking more about our just park staff, their general employees.
Doing it annually for everyone means you're not picking ones, you're not picking winners and losers to be tested or to be examined or be backgrounded.
Okay.
So essentially, that would be more like a policy of the Parks Department that their staff is annually checked along with any instructors or independent vendors. That
That's
comes
how I
through?
view it.
Yeah,
Good.
okay.
How about other municipalities, David?
They do it annually.
Okay.
And this is a pretty widespread, procedural
Actually,
policy?
it's growing, Jeff, it's growing. Not everybody has it, but those that do, usually it's annual. And it's growing in numbers.
All right. Is there any other discussion from the board? Or is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, let me stop 1 second. Do we have, Mr. Washington, does this need to be created in a policy form? Are we making a motion to create a policy? What would be the best, practice in this scenario?
Ultimately, probably a resolution, Dale, but for purposes of putting the policy on the table and identifying it for the department, having a motion, a second, and a public meeting action makes sense.
Okay, so then the motion would be to implement a policy regarding annual background checks.
Good motion.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion that the Cedar Lake Parks Department create its own policy implementing annual background checks for its staff and volunteers.
Okay, I have a motion by Dale.
I will second that motion.
I have a second by Greg. Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Markwart?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Holstein?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 4-0. That's all we had in new business, and now we have reports. Clerk treasurer's not here, but we kind of went over the consent agenda and the budget. So is there anything for the superintendent's report? Put you back on the microphone.
getting a break
I
tonight.
know.
My superintendent report for the month of January, I just have a highlight reel that I'm gonna throw over. One of most important, and everybody is anxious, is the 5-year master plan. We have stakeholders identified, we have steering committee members identified. These stakeholders will begin meeting the 14th and 15th of February. That meeting dates have been sent out to the park board, and David's office as well, as he had asked. The steering committee has also identified a first meeting date, which is our introductory meeting, as February 15th as well. So we are gearing up toward master planning and just getting those next steps on the books, which feels really good. I've identified, would you like me to list committee members and stakeholders at this time? Or just public information, or?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. We've identified the steering committees as Dale Holtze, Park Board President, Greg Marquardt, Park Board, Mary Joan Dixon as the Town Council Liaison to the Parks, myself as the Superintendent of Parks, Gail Brannon as a community member, who is actually in the audience today, Aaron Shirkey, Cedar Lake State Farm business owner. Our stakeholders, so a stakeholder here in a master planning is somebody who we're going to identify as may have a common interest or goal as us as a Parks Department, who we may be able to create partnerships and roadmaps in the future to work together, or have same interests of the like, depending on the demographics that we're working with. So the stakeholders that we've identified and we will be meeting with, just to do a 1-hour interview with, have been the Cedar Lake Boys and Girls Club, Cedar Lake Youth Baseball, Cedar Lake Girls Softball, the Legacy Foundation, Cedar Lake Fraternal Order of Eagles, and the Dean and Barbara White Foundation. So that's on master planning. Anybody have any questions, as I know we're just getting those wheels moving on the big steps of master planning. Did I say answer? Other highlights on the highlight reel, recreation coordinator, Greg has joined our team. Greg is a breath of fresh air. Trying to do both roles is hard, especially with so much going on in the park system. But Greg joins us, eager, really taking on those community engagement opportunities and running with that, those things that I was instilling in the absence of the rec coordinator. We've got meetings on the books with the Boys and Girls Club, the Chamber of Commerce. We're gathering our team and our people of the community to just make this park system solid and create that foundation. And Greg's just been instrumental in seeing that vision come forward. It was one of the weaknesses I had identified for the department. But he's learning, he's rolling with the punches, helping plan soccer, helping plan that Easter egg hunt. I'm going to let him talk a little bit about what he's doing when we get to that rec coordinator report. But very happy to have him and pleased with our new hire. And then I highlighted just some agenda items in my superintendent report, which I discussed here in the meeting, so I don't have to go over that. And then really that I ran the programming for the seniors during the month of January. And in my superintendent report, I actually took the opportunity to survey those seniors that were in attendance at both the ones on the senior social, but I also hosted the senior, or the bingo event. Moving forward, we've identified that all ages bingo really isn't working out for a 3 o'clock start on most days. The seniors have requested that we go into a senior bingo only, so we're going to move forward with senior bingo in the next few months. We're going to run the rest of the already advertised all ages bingos, but unless children are homeschooled or off school, the attendance is very low with all ages anyway with that time frame that had been previously set. So we're going to revamp that into a senior program, and if bingo's wanted from the community and just an all-ages bingo, that definitely needs to be moved back into a time slot that is acceptable for all to attend. So we will run the January, February, March bingo as all ages. If children show up, great, but we've identified that it needs to be just senior bingo at either that time slot or sooner.
they would like to have their own senior bingo opportunity. But the techniques that I did with the seniors, it was great to actually hear their ideas and their wants. We hit every topic from speakers to trip ideas to community ideas. It was great. We got the feedback. We had a rapport, and all that information has been shared with our new rec coordinator to help identify the needs and wants of that senior group so we can do better for them moving forward as the park system grows. So. And then something else that I think should be mentioned in our meeting, we did talk about it in the donations, but we had two previous town employees who had passed, Jason Dees and Keith Wood. And the art piece behind Town Hall was looking for some benches, just for the community to enjoy the art piece. So I worked with Chief Fisher on, he secured the donation, and I processed picked the benches and processed the order with our sales rep. And actually, at the time I wrote this, these showed up a lot sooner. So we do have the benches in our, they came on Tuesday, so we do have them. They will be put together, and then we will wait a little bit delay on the cast iron plaques to go on them. But once it's all ready to go, I'm sure that we'll find some way to, do a ribbon cutting or something on those benches when they're ready to get installed. So that was nice to be able to work all departments together to bring something to remember our lost fellow employees.
Thank you.
That's that on the superintendent report.
All right, Greg, you're up with the recreation coordinator's report.
Yeah, so some of the things that I would like to go over real quick, so obviously between my training and soaking a lot of information, the community outreach has been one of the big things I'm doing, getting involved with the Hanover, Crown Point school systems for just getting information out there, getting volunteers. I've also contacted Lake Central to see how their volunteers program works. And then for the Easter egg hunt, like she talked about earlier, I want to create an opportunity for local businesses and organizations to have more involvement with the Parks Department during the community events. So I thought that was very important to get those out there to try to help out for the Easter egg hunt. For the programs and events, spring soccer is something that we are underway and working on with spring coming up. I did look at trying to get a blood drive. I'm currently speaking with someone about that. The adult art and kids paint, that's starting back up in April. And then the Challenger Sports, I've gotten, as you guys can see, the Challenger Sports proposal for that, to just bring a community camp during the summer for the kids, and also help out the Cedar Lake Soccer as well with that.
Great. Well, it looks like you got a full plate of events, and happy to see our programming continue.
I do have an edit. It's March. Art class.
Yeah,
March, not
yeah.
April. We're not waiting to April to get started again.
You're right.
Great.
Good job, guys.
Thanks, Craig. Happy to have you with us. All right. Is there any written communication from anyone?
There.
No. Okay, so at this time we'll open it up for public comments.
Marie Samara, 13318 Morris Street. I just applied for an ADA recreational grant, and there's a lot of grants out there for ADA parks and recreation. You just have to look for them.
Okay, thank you. If you could please get in touch with us, and we can, our emails are on the website.
Call me.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, my name's Kevin Toth, 9725B West 129th Place. I just got a couple of comments, questions, I guess, or I don't know if you can answer them or not, but I was looking at the budget from the Taylor Ice Fest and the money that was spent. And it's got a couple of questions. I see the town, we've put up $22,500 for the Taylor Ice Fest.
Mm-hmm.
And can I ask what the profit was taken in on the Ice Fest? How much money was made by the vendors and from the, I'm sure they paid for the spaces, they paid for their booths, was there any profit to offset this $22,500 that the taxpayer spent?
We're not privy to that, I don't.
Go ahead, Mindy.
Absolutely. I think what your question is more about with a partner that we partnered with in order to bring an event to the community of that nature, of that size, to bring the vendors and artisans and that. We partnered at no cost affiliated with the farmers market.
They also assisted with offsetting costs of entertainment and such. But as far as what their books are, they are another business organization that we did not have to report or had the information to report for Taylor Ice Fest.
But why not? We funded this thing, $22,500 we funded, right? And so somebody made money off of this thing. And it should have been the taxpayers got their money back, or it should have stayed in a fund for it to put on another fest, or whatever, not that somebody made money on it. And I just think that should be run either through this town or through the Parks Department, and not that some outside, whatever. Did we even have a contract for this festival with the outside vendor to say whoever it was that put this thing on? I mean, where's contract?
There was an agreement, there was, those T's were crossed and I's, I can assure you, on that. But I do want you to also be aware that most times when running community events and fairs, we are not asking our vendors how much they made, or the carnival that comes along with it makes, we're not, there's never really an opportunity to make money off of a community event. That's not the purpose of a community event.
I'm not saying to make money off of it, but to make money off of it to fund other events is what it should be for, not that somebody, a private entity is making funds off of it. We funded this, the taxpayers funded it, right? I mean, I'm sorry, I just believe the taxpayers' money was spent. If there's money made on this thing, shouldn't it come back to the taxpayers or come back to the town? So that, like I said, you have funds for further events. But we didn't do that. We had somebody made money on this. I mean, I'm looking through the budget. Can you tell me, who paid for the electricity for the festival? That's not even in the budget. So and that's not even in the cost. So they're plugging in out there, right? Every one of those food trucks plugged in out there, and we paid for it, right? I'm just saying,
I don't think it got broke down to utilities, that wasn't.
There's no security cost in there. I'm sure there was security out there. And all I'm saying is, if we're gonna do something like this, then you wanna hire somebody to bring the festival in and have a contract with them to pay them a fee, but not everything. I mean, I'm sorry, I think it's money that we can use.
Well, I don't think we didn't hire anyone.
We did,
we didn't hire,
people were hired.
You partnered with somebody,
We didn't
right?
hire the farmer's market.
No, we did not. We partnered at no cost, with the farmer's market to bring them.
$22,500, don't say no cost.
But that was tangibles.
Mindy, those tangibles, we can reuse those, the tents, the heaters for other events. So throughout the years, I'm sure we'll use that equipment. It's not something that $22,500 for one event that's just gonna be thrown away, right?
Absolutely. The majority of those funds that were brought through, I mean, yes, there are operational costs. We did first start with solicitation of sponsorships. As that wasn't coming through, the council felt necessary to seed the program or to seed the event. Other funds were put our way, but mostly tangibles is what you'll see in there. It's tents, it's heaters, it's Christmas lights to run a Christmas event, lighting, rental of signage and lighting. But did we pay for Santa Claus to come here? Yes, we did, as we would with any community event. So.
And you can say it's tangible, and I understand that, but there was also a profit made that could have helped pay for to offset these costs for the event, and it wasn't.
And I think it would have cost more money for the town to facilitate getting the vendors. So to partner with a community partner that's already running those events all year long,
then
makes it easier.
Then do a contract with them and find out what they're making and find out what.
Because the farmer's market here.
Could we get a percentage back also on that, because we got nothing?
Yeah, well, I guess that would be also a question for town council regarding the farmer's market.
It's a question for anybody that's involved in it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, I'm just looking out for the taxpayers. It's $22,500, right? And somebody made a profit because we paid for it.
Mr. Jones, I'd just like to point out as well, sir, the money that was provided to us by town council for this event was unsolicited by the park board. So, that was a decision from town manager and council. I understand what you're saying. You want to see a little bit more accountability. You'd like to see a better plan. You'd like to see better explanation. What I would offer to you is, we were looking for volunteers for the Taylor Ice Fest, and if you would like to bring those ideas and opinions, we'd love to have you, so that those types of things that maybe didn't get identified this time do in the future.
Great, I'll be out, let me know when it is, I'll be out there. But all I'm saying is, I'm not putting the blame on you guys, and I'm not putting whatever the town council, whoever approved the money, all I'm saying is it needs to be looked at, that there's a better way to do this, that it's not gonna cost the taxpayer so much. There was money made on this thing, all right, and it should have helped us, and it didn't. That's what I have to say. And one more comment I would like to make before I leave. I understand you guys approved the budget tonight, and I surely would like to know what it is, because it should have been at least part of the packet, or it should have been on the table over there so people could look at it and see what it was, because I have no idea what you voted on.
When's the budget gonna be available for the public to?
That could be requested through the Freedom of Information Act at
Okay.
any time, so.
Yeah,
that's for it.
we don't have it.
We don't
I
have that out usually at that
Yeah.
time, but it,
But you approved it, so what did you approve?
Well,
well,
we
it was,
thought-
it was not presented in our meeting, it was, deferred to this meeting. An email came out from the clerk treasurer telling us that it was showing it to the board, so they had visual of it a few weeks back.
It should be shown to the public. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sam Brannan, 7014 West 139th Place. And, about the cameras at the dog park, it said that they're gonna be, there's gonna be internet access, and I wondered if that was gonna include a monthly internet access fee like many other cameras. There's no internet service
Mhm.
there, so is that something that'll be included in that budget, or will there be a monthly fee going forward?
Actually, Cliff is responding to this because we actually have Wi-Fi out there on the gate code system, so it's already established. We
Okay.
just have to create a link to secure those cameras. I think that's what he's saying. I think he stopped at no additional. Did I read your mind, Cliff? We do have a Wi-Fi connection for the dog park gates currently.
Got it. And, there was one other thing I wanted to ask about. It appears that there's some kind of a bond or loan against Potawatomi Park, and I was wondering if that was going to, have any kind of a problem with the park master plan going forward. Is Potawatomi Park on, will it be included in the master plan?
I was not even aware of a lien or a bond on Potawatomi. That's not been shared with me as the Parks Department.
Well, would that be something that would prevent it from being part of the master plan?
It's identified as a park space at this time. I would believe that we would look into that as it's saying on the master plan unless somebody has another reason here as to why it wouldn't. But I'm not aware of a bond, I'm not aware of a bond or a lien against that property at all. Information has not come my way.
Is that something we could ask about and see if?
I'm gonna ask the town manager right now if we can look into that together.
I guess we can look into that together.
All right,
I mean, if
I
it's-
looked at
if it's-
something
if it's
from
proper-
February of 2022 in the, town, council minutes, and it was very vague. It didn't, identify the property, and I thought maybe that was Potawatomi Park, and just wanted to find out, so, thank you.
Yes, as far as my understanding is we're still moving forward with Potawatomi Park being a park that we're maintaining as the Parks Department, and it would be identified in that park master plan
Thank you.
at this time.
Okay, any other public comment? Public comment going 3 times? Okay, public comment's closed. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Sarah,
I'll second that motion.
and a second by Greg. Meeting's adjourned at 6:34 PM. Next meeting is March 7th, 2024 at 5:30 PM.